You don't want to miss the great presentation from Dr. Wallach himself right here, right
The
now.
solution to the world's healthcare crisis has already been discovered. It lies within our body's own ability to heal itself. In the 90 essential nutrients missing from our food for years is the key to unlocking the power that is already within us. If you suffer from diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, high blood pressure, Alzheimer's, or any other chronic illness you can name, you'll want to hear what Dr. Joe Wallach has to say. Dr. Wallach is the author of the most popular health lecture in history, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, with over 100 million copies in circulation. As a veterinarian, he helped eliminate over 900 different diseases and birth defects in the animal industry. As a physician, he's proving the same thing can be done for humans. For limited
I was
time.
out here sitting with one of the very, very important men. I call him my daddy, my mentor. Is a world classic health and awareness. Dr. Joe Wallach. Dr. Joe Wallach, good to see you today. How are you?
Thank you, Dr. Bruno.
Good to see you. Dr. Wallach, I want you to talk to the world today about yourself. Wallach, I want to give you 2 minutes to introduce yourself to the world.
Okay, well, thank you. I think, Dr. Bruno, the thing that makes my view different is I have a degree in agriculture. I have a degree in veterinary medicine. I have a postdoctoral fellowship, which was based on a grant from the National Institutes of Health. In that project, I did 20,000 autopsies, 17,000 and some change of over 454 species of animals and 3,000 humans, 10 million chemistries, 10 million special stains looking for pollution. The manuscript is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure, because what I found out was that there are no genetic diseases. There are no genetic diseases. There are no genetically transmitted birth defects. We can prevent all birth defects, and all diseases are preventable. Many of them are reversible even after a person gets them later on in life, including things like diabetes and high blood pressure and heart disease and Alzheimer's disease and cancer and so forth. I also have a degree in naturopathic medicine from the National College of Naturopathic Medicine in Portland, Oregon. Primary care physician since 1982, licensed in Oregon and California. So I have those 4 degrees, 3 doctorates, and again, my thesis is for my postdoctoral fellowship is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure, because I found out there are no genetic diseases. And we can save every country, particularly countries that have socialized medicine where they're paying for their citizens' health care. We can save them 85% on their cost. Because when you take somebody who's been a brittle diabetic for 30 years, in 30 days they're an ex-diabetic, you don't have to amputate their feet, they don't have high blood pressure, they don't have artery disease, they don't go blind, all this stuff. And they can be productive for many more years. They can be healthful and not be a cost and a drag on the economy. Also, countries who embrace this initially will become beacons. People will come there from all over the world to be healed, and this is where medical tourism comes in. They'll have to build 50 new hotels because there are going to be people from all over the world and bring money into those countries. And so you're going to get a double benefit, one for the health and benefit of the citizens, but then also for income from outside coming in. And again, because these countries will be known as health tourism beacons for people to go and get rid of their problem. 99.9% of the people with bone-to-bone arthritis, they don't have to have one cell of cartilage in their body. They do not need joint replacements. We can actually rebuild them with nutrition. And so we have this experiment. Most of the theories of disease in the medical system are incorrect. And so that's why they have a problem. So, of course, we have many, many books. We have 14 books. We have 50 CDs and so forth with all this information. We have DVDs. And so we have tools to leverage our time so that all this information can be used in schools and organizations and groups everywhere. So it's not like I have to be at every lecture.
What's the best book do you have?
Well, they have different purposes. For instance, we have what we call Dead Doctors Don't Lie. There's a book, there's a CD, there's a DVD, and this is one of my original ones. And basically, in the beginning, when I was looking at diseases, when I was becoming a physician myself, I said, well, just how long do doctors live? it turns out that they don't live very long compared to the average person. And so I said, well, if they knew everything about health and they knew what was correct, they should live the longest, but they don't. In America, for instance, according to their own survey, the American Medical Association, 1999, they said the average lifespan of a medical doctor in America is 56. Well, that's not very good, okay? And so when you take the longest lived cultures on Earth, they're third world cultures, like Russia and Georgia. You're looking at places like Pakistan, and so forth. They live to be 140, 180, and so forth, and doctors live to be 56. There's a problem here, okay? And so that's when I really began to get into it. So dead doctors don't lie. Then there's epigenetics, which shows you that it's your environment, your nutrition, that's more important than taking a drug after you're sick, okay? And then, of course, Black Gene Lies. Black Gene Lies is a wonderful book.
I got you.
Yeah, that book.
That's my other question. It was about Black Gene's Lie.
Okay. Well, there are no genetic diseases in black people. There's no genetic disease in white people, yellow people, red people. There's no genetic diseases in any vertebrate, whether it's a flamingo or a dolphin or a giraffe. High blood pressure, sickle cell anemia. These things are very simple diseases. High blood pressure is a very simple disease. It's not genetic in the black population. It's not genetic in anybody. Same way with sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is not a genetic disease in the black population. In fact, it's found in white people and hummingbirds and African antelopes and stuff. It's a very common birth defect caused by nutritional deficiencies early in pregnancy when the bone marrow cells are forming. So the defective bone marrow cells only produce dysfunctional hemoglobin. But it's totally 100% preventable, and with nutrition, it's manageable, so nobody should ever die from it. Okay? But it's totally preventable. Same way with high blood pressure. Every cardiovascular disease is a nutritional deficiency. And then when you look at plaque in the arteries, it has nothing to do with cholesterol. Plaque in the arteries is actually caused by inflammation, by eating fried foods. Fried foods, processed meats, oils. Oils are very, very bad. They cause trans fats, heterocyclamines, acrylamides, which cause the plaque in the arteries, not cholesterol. Cholesterol is your best friend.
Wow.
Because cholesterol prevents Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a deficiency.
Why they don't tell us?
Well, because doctors demonized cholesterol so they could sell a product. It was not a false theory. It was not a mistaken theory. It was actually a fraud perpetuated to sell a product. They demonized cholesterol so they could sell this other product. And of course, this is all in the book Epigenetics.
Okay.
The Death of the Genetic Theory of Disease Transmission. That's the subtitle of The Death of the Genetic Theory of Disease Transmission. And so I learned this because I found plaque, 90% plaque in the arteries of sheep from northern Africa, in the Atlas Mountains of North Africa, north of Morocco. Now, where is a sheep in the Atlas Mountains north of Morocco, up in North Africa, getting cholesterol? He's not eating eggs. He's not eating bacon, not eating red meat, not eating butter. So it turned out that in the zoo for 2 months, these sheep were getting mixed grain that was stored in the barn. Well, it turns out that the wheat germ oil oxidized and turned into trans fats and caused the plaque in the arteries of the sheep.
So oil is 100% no good.
All oil is potentially extremely bad. We do need essential fatty acids, okay, to prevent blood clots and to make our cell walls healthy. But for salad dressing, no. For cooking oils, no. For margarines instead of butter, no. In fact, I actually have a CD which goes into this subject very deeply. The title of the CD is "A Stick of Butter a Day Keeps the Doctor Away." It's not an apple a day that keeps the doctor away. It's a stick of butter a day keeps the doctor away. And cholesterol is your best friend. Cholesterol is the major component of testosterone. Low T, low testosterone. ED, erectile dysfunction, is caused by a testosterone deficiency. Who gives people statin drugs to lower their cholesterol? Doctors. And then they write you a prescription for Viagra because you don't have any testosterone.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then women start getting menopause and stop having babies when they're in their 30s instead of in their 60s and 70s because estrogen is 95% cholesterol. People get sleep apnea and adrenal exhaustion because adrenal hormones are 95% by weight cholesterol. They're a category of hormones called steroid hormones, 95% by weight cholesterol. And then, of course, Alzheimer's disease did not exist until 45 years ago. Today it's number 4 killer of adults in all the industrialized nations. And so cholesterol deficiency is the cause of Alzheimer's disease. And because of all the sort of cholesterol replacement foods, like egg beaters instead of eggs, and margarine instead of butter, and cooking oils instead of lard, that kind of stuff. And it was a very, very bad move, but it was actually a fraud as opposed to just a mistaken theory. And so that's what makes it problematic. It was a fraud.
Very interesting. We have half an hour. My question to you, what does you make the difference, or what's the difference between you and the other companies?
Well, what we do in our company is leverage our time, leverage everybody's time. We have tools so that somebody with a very simple education, if they can just barely read and write, and we have some of our tools in 9 languages, they can just barely read and write, they can listen to the CDs, read the books, watch the DVDs, and in 2 days' time know more about preventing birth defects and reversing people's health problems than doctors do after 12 years of medical school and pre-medical school and so forth. Okay? And so we've put this into the system to where anybody can do this to leverage our time, because there's so few of us and so many people need help. And this is where we can just do electronically, teach people all over the world, and they have the tools, and we have the products. We have a basic program. We learned that all vertebrates, humans, flamingos, porpoises, turtles, fish, giraffe, rats, pigs, dogs, cats, sheep, elephants, all vertebrates in the world require these 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. We came up with a basic program you just take for prevention. Kind of like you put 6 quarts of oil in your car, prevent the engine from burning up. Nobody says, well, I'm going to put dirt from Texas in my car, because everybody knows there's oil in Texas. There's bound to be some oil in that dirt. An insane person would not do that. Yet that's what we do when people say, well, my doctor said just eat well, you get everything you need. No, because plants only need 3 elements from the soil to make good seeds for the next generation. All vertebrates, including human beings, require 60. So if you're eating well, you might only get 3 from the plant, so you're 57 sharp. You'll have babies with birth defects. You'll die in your 30s and 40s from horrible diseases. And the doctors say, oh, it's genetic.
That's very interesting. Dr. Wallach, as you know, the mental health is big issue, especially for the young kids, age 17, the age, whatever it is. So what's your recommendation?
Excuse me. All mental diseases, ADD, ADHD, autism, Tourette syndrome, Asperger's, depression, manic depression, bipolar disease, people with suicidal tendencies, anxiety, paranoia, schizophrenia, psychoses, these are all due to a deficiency of a single nutrient. You take all 90 essential nutrients with extra of that one, stay away from all the bad foods, and it all goes away. Or people in your country never get it. Your choice. Just keep going the way you are, have fun, or do what we know from research. And of course, much of this is in, again, the book Epigenetics, The Death of the Genetic Theory of Disease Transmission. There's another one, Rare Earth's Forbidden Cures, covers a lot of this. And many of these deficiencies that cause these diseases can only be identified with a special test that is not utilized in standard physical. When you have a standard physical, they do an EKG, they take your blood pressure, they take your pulse, they'll weigh you. Again, they take a blood test and they look for kidney function and all that kind of stuff. That will not tell you what you're looking for mental diseases. There's a special test which is outlined very clearly in the book and described very clearly in the book, Rare Earth's Forbidden Cures. It's the only test that will tell you what to do about all these mental problems. That book, Rare Earth's Forbidden Cures, before we even had names like autism, this book, I was diagnosing these things in my practice back in the 1970s. Yeah. And I could identify them, okay, by doing a little test in my office, and then I would give them nutritional programs, and in 2 to 4 weeks we could redo the tests. They're perfectly normal.
That's very interesting. Dr. Joe Wallach, I know you had an amazing testimony with the Dr. Clifford Dollar, which is amazing testimony prior to the book Black Genes Live.
That's right. Well,
people want to know the story.
He paid for the research for the book.
What is research? What is story?
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. people want to
Sure.
hear?
Well, Pastor Dollar paid for the research for the book Black Gene Lies, the CDs Black Gene Lies, and the DVD set which he put together. So there's a whole set: DVDs, CDs, and the book Black Gene Lies. And Andrew Young, from the United Nations, Ambassador of the United Nations under President Jimmy Carter. He was also the mayor of Atlanta for several terms, and he was also part of the Civil Rights Movement with Dr. King during the Civil Rights Movement's days in the United States in the 50s and 60s. And he calls me one day because I had rebuilt his knees. He was very excited about the fact that I showed him and proved to him that sickle cell anemia is not a genetic disease in black people. It's very easily prevented birth defect. He was so excited about that. And several months later, he calls me up, and Pastor Dollar is on the phone with him. And he says, well, Pastor Dollar's youngest daughter has a terrible form of asthma that's genetic in black kids. She's 11 and a half years old now, and Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia says she's not going to live until 12. She could die tonight next week, but she's not going to make it till 12. She's having too many crises. She's not responding to maintenance medication for asthma. She's not responding to emergency medication asthma. And Emory University has given up on her, said she's got this genetic form of asthma found in black kids, and we're done. And I said, well, there are no such things as genetic forms of any disease in vertebrates, human beings, or any vertebrates whatsoever. And certainly the form of asthma that Pastor Dollar's daughter has is not a genetic disease. It's just like sickle cell anemia. They're not genetic diseases. Because doctors don't know how to deal with them, they're blaming on your genes. That way they're not responsible. Okay? And so you get her off of gluten so she can absorb the medicine. Absolutely no wheat, barley, rye, and oats. Let her intestines heal. I'm going to give you the 60 essential minerals for her body weight. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. Give her this. I send it overnight to him, and get her off of gluten. Everybody in the household, so there's no cross-contamination in the laundry, the food preparation surfaces, and the couches and the beds and things. No wheat, no barley, no rye, no oats. We're talking about you must eat rice and sweet potatoes and millet and buckwheat, but no wheat, barley, rye, or oats. He calls me in 2 weeks and says she's cured.
Oh.
And in a month's time, to make a long story short, he gave us the money, which we turned into the research that paid for all the information, because he said, do research. How many diseases are there in black people? Well, after 6 months, we knew there was not a single genetic disease in black people. In Africa, in Europe, the islands, anywhere there's black people found on Earth, white people, red people, yellow people, there are no genetic diseases. And all the research, with all the references, are in that book, Black Gene Lies, and the 2 CDs, Black Gene Lies 1, Black Gene Lies 2, and then the DVD set. Every black kid in the world needs to watch the DVDs, listen to the CDs, and read that book. It should be a textbook in every university that teaches black history, or physiology, or medicine.
The Black Genes Lies.
Black Gene Lies, absolutely.
That's an amazing book.
Mm.
That's great. Now, tell me when, I know you have a story, you was fired at one of the university.
Mm-hmm.
What that story I want to hear?
Okay, well, in 1977, I was working at Emory University and the Yerkes Primate Center, Regional Primate Center, which is a federal primate research facility in Atlanta, Georgia, and Emory University. I was loosely associated with the pathology department there, and was a pathologist at that time, and working on projects there that were supervised and funded by NASA and that kind of stuff. And to make a long story short, I ran into the first case of a disease thought to be the classic symbol of genetic diseases in humans called cystic fibrosis. And fortunately, I got permission to do biopsies in all the other baby monkeys at about the same age as that one that had no relationship. They were not genetically related, different mother, fathers, everything, and no relationship genetically to each other. And they all had cystic fibrosis, 25 of them. So I knew it was not a genetic thing because none of them were related to each other genetically. So it had to be an environmental thing. Well, fortunately, the facilities for 6 years before I got there, every month they would take a blood sample from the parents and put it in the freezer. Every month for the 6 months all those 25 baby monkeys were alive, they took a blood sample every month and put them in the freezer. Well, it took me 3 days to find out the nutrient that was missing that resulted in the cystic fibrosis. So it was another disease said to be genetic in human beings. It wasn't, cystic fibrosis. And put it all together, got it ready for publication. I said, oh, this is going to be great because there were like 4 major facilities, pathology facilities, human pathology facilities around the United States, in Boston and New York and Chicago and LA, that were very familiar with cystic fibrosis. And I sent them copies of the slides without telling them it was from Monkey. I said, I think this is cystic fibrosis, what do you think? On their letterhead, back in 1977, they said, oh, this is a classic example of cystic fibrosis. They had it on their letterhead. So I had all that. That's my references, got it all published, or ready to be published. I took it to the staff of the Yerkes Primate Center and the medical staff at the medical school there in Grady Memorial Hospital, where the pathology stuff was happening, at Emory University in Atlanta, and they fired me. They said, well, you can't say that cystic fibrosis is not genetic. Everybody knows it's a genetic disease. It's the classic genetic disease of human beings. No, sir. Well, these are your sample. You collected the samples 6 years before I got here, so I couldn't fudge the samples. These are your samples. Okay. You took these blood tests starting 6 years ago, every year for 6 years before I got here. So you can't say that I made this up. No, you're fired. Well, that's when I went back to school and became a physician, because I knew they were not going to treat these kids properly.
And then what's happened?
Well, now, a couple of years ago, that one nutrient is missing, so I still couldn't get, even though I did big projects in China, 1,700 autopsies, and proved that this deficiency in these kids, I still was not getting any traction with medical schools and pediatricians and the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and Muscular Dystrophy Association and so forth. So we forced the FDA to put this nutrient, the deficiency of which causes cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy and sudden infant death syndrome and Keyshan disease in China. We had them put it required by law to be in all baby formulas. And for funny, the last 3 years, there's not been many people talking about crib death and cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy. Because now that nutrient's in baby formulas, where before it wasn't. And all these kids were dying of all these problems, and now they're not dying of these problems because we put that nutrient in that formula. We had to come in the back door. Since they wouldn't cooperate, we just went in the back door.
So you did a great job.
Well, we did what needed to be done, and so these are the sort of things we do, and that's what makes our company different.
Dr. Wallach, if I ask you now, somebody who struggles with diabetes and kidney disease, what are you going to tell them?
Okay, well, type 2 diabetes makes up 98% of the diabetic population. It's easily prevented, easily reversed. People who have kidney failure and they're on dialysis, I don't care if they haven't urinated in 10 years, we can get them off of dialysis in a couple of months. When you have kidney failure, 99% of the time there's nothing wrong with the kidneys. But the blood tests show that the kidneys are not filtering the urine. That's correct. But that's not because there's anything wrong with the kidneys. It's because the little blood vessels that carry the dirty blood into the filtering units, the glomeruli in the kidneys, is plugged. So the dirty blood can't get in there. And the kidneys will release a hormone called renin, which drives the blood pressure up, which is problematic because that type of blood pressure does not respond very well to drugs because it's driven by a hormone. Okay? So we came up with a program to where we can get the blood flowing through those plugged arteries into the kidneys, and usually within certainly 6 to 8 weeks. The fastest has been 2 weeks. I don't care if they haven't peed in 10 years, they're urinating, and another month or two they're off of dialysis. We get literally hundreds and hundreds every month of people all over the world off of dialysis with this program. You get the basic 90 essential nutrients plus what we call a secret sauce, which supports healthy blood flow through the plugged arteries in the kidneys.
Right. Now, Dr. Wallach, that's the things I just find out for the 3 days after you are doing presentation. Body food and a good food. So if you are really supplement, you have to go with good food and the supplement.
And avoid the bad
That's the
food.
things they're missing.
Yes, and avoid the bad foods. Okay, the good foods don't necessarily have the nutrition in it, but they won't hurt you. Okay, whereas the bad foods, they probably don't have the nutrition in them either, but they're going to hurt you. We're talking about fried foods. Universally, there's no good fried foods. There's no good processed meats. We're talking about deli slices and sandwich meats and sausage, ham, bacon, bologna, salami, pastrami, pepperoni, jerky, corned beef, spams, chorizo, all that kind of stuff. No oils. Oils are very bad because they turn into trans fats, heterocyclamines, and acrylamides. It's oxidized oils that cause plaque in your arteries, not cholesterol. Cholesterol is your best friend. Okay? The culture, the Inuit Eskimos above the Arctic Circle that have the lowest rates of stroke and coronary artery disease and heart attacks, their total cholesterols are 350 to 500 because they live on primarily whale meat and whale blubber, walrus meat and walrus blubber. They don't eat fruit, they don't eat vegetables, they don't eat nuts, they don't eat grains. And so, yet their total blood cholesterols are 350 to 500, and they have the lowest rate of heart attacks and strokes in the world because cholesterol does not cause those problems.
That's very interesting. Sugar.
Sugar causes plaque in your arteries, causes cancer, okay, causes fatty liver. Very bad. Sugar is very bad.
All sugar.
All sugar. They're just,
Even brown.
it doesn't matter.
Even
It doesn't matter whether it's high fructose corn syrup or sugar cane sugar or sugar beet sugar. Apple juice is one of the worst ones because it's fructose, apple juice. Even juices from fruit. And I like to teach people to eat more vegetables because fruit has the problem of sugar. You can get all kinds of wonderful vitamins from fruit, but it has the problem of the sugar in it.
Dr. Wallach, the other thing I'm very excited about the hemp oil because that's the things Dr. Linda and I was talking about. What this is about is a new products come to the market and people want to know about it because it seems to me it's very good stuff. Can you give us a peek?
Sure. Well, cannabinoids have been known for a long time. It's a class of substances you find in plants, cannabinoids. There are two major groups of plants. One of which is hemp, which has no THC in it, which gives you gives you the pleasure of marijuana. There's a lot of cannabinoids, a lot of THC in marijuana, but in hemp there's extremely, it's not measurable. I carry it through airports all the time, so the dog sniffing, just smile at you and say, pet me, so you don't have to worry about, doing something wrong. And in most places, the hemp CBD oils are legal because there's no THC in it. And we have several products, one of which is a topical pain reliever, one of which deals with helping people with sleep problems, that kind of thing, and another one, it's capsules for people with seizures and also they're having struggles with memory and that kind of stuff. So right now we have three major products with the CBD oils in it, which we extract from the hemp. And of course we use our non-GMO organic fertilizer on our hemp plants, which we have control of every step of the growth process, the extraction of the CBD oils and the packaging and so forth. We're in control of the whole thing. It's taken us 2 years to get to this point, and so it will be a big, big project. It's going to be a health revolution.
That's great, and I really do appreciate for that. And my other exciting question to you, NASDAQ.
Oh, well, NASDAQ, of course, is one of the major stock markets, and our company, Youngevity, is on NASDAQ. Our stock symbol is YGYI for Youngevity International, and I hope everybody looks at that and checks it out and see if they might want to buy some stock. I think I'm the only physician whose practice is on the stock market, YGYI, and so I'm very, very proud of that. And we've actually acquired, probably 30 companies over the past 25 years that leverages our time. Instead of us having to take 5 years to create this product, it's already created. Good product, good company, lots of good people. And so we like that product. And so instead of going through the process of getting it approved, blah, 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 they've already done it, so we buy that company. So we've done this because we want to be the Amazon of healthcare. We want to be Amazon of healthcare so that everybody, between the tools of the CDs, the DVDs, and the books, the products which are well documented, they're all researched. They're all researched by universities and pharmaceutical companies and governments. And so everything we do is highly, 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 safe, and also highly researched, published. And so we have products that just blow everybody's mind because they do things that nobody else's products can do.
Man, so United Nations, what does it come to your mind? What do you need United Nations to do for you?
Well, the United Nations, of course, has, as the name implies, has entree to 200 plus nations.
Yes.
And so when we go speak in the United Nations, they have representatives, ambassadors there, so we're speaking to all the nations, having to go to each one. Of course, we can do it electronically. We can speak in the United Nations, and electronically we're going to each one. And the countries who get involved first, they're all going to get involved eventually, but the ones who get involved first will be known as healing tourism, all natural. People can go there and stay for a week or 2 weeks or a month or 3 months, whatever it takes, depending on what health problem they have. And they will leave and they will tell all the miracles that have happened to them there in that country. And they're going to have to build 50 new hotels because they're going to be so busy with people coming there to get healed. Because the medical system, as we know it all over the world, has kind of failed. Okay? Lots of drugs relieve symptoms, a lot of side effects in the drugs. Okay? And all the diseases said to be genetic are not. That's a very broad statement, but it's quite true. There's actually a science that is replacing genetics called epigenetics. I'm considered one of the two fathers and founders of the science of epigenetics. That's my book, Epigenetics. The Death of the Genetic Theory of Disease Transmission is so popular. And because it's so well documented, and it represents about 8,000 human autopsies, and it's kind of a piece of that project. You know, my thesis of which is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure on those 20,000 autopsies. So that one, it did 3,000 human autopsies and 17,000 some change of 454 species of animals. Nobody's ever done that. Usually when science is done on a new drug, pharmaceutical, a nutrient, a disease, they do it on 100 rats. I did 20,454 species, including 3,000 humans.
That's bombastic.
It was a very unique project, paid for. It was a government project, National Institutes of Health, so it's not something that was just dreamt up, you know, when you're smoking drugs around a fire.
Dr. Wallach, somebody sitting there with the 500 pounds, with the hypertension and diabetes.
Yes,
and
that's all easily gotten rid of. Yes.
How do we help that guy right there?
Okay, well, first of all, you have to appreciate that the reason why the United States is the #1 obese nation in the world is because we followed a false theory. The false theory was that being overweight and obese is caused by eating too much and lack of exercise. That's absolutely, positively not true. Okay? Being overweight and obese is due to a nutritional deficiency. Any one of the members of a certain class of nutrients, if you're deficient in that nutrient, you're going to start gaining weight, no matter what you do. There's 3 of those nutrients in that class of nutrients. If you're deficient in any one of those 3, you'll be the 300-pound, 500-pound, 800-pound person. I deal with that all the time, all over the world. Okay? You got to get rid of the bad foods, the fried foods, the processed meats, the oils, the glutens. Get them on the 90 essential nutrients. We actually have a program we call the Healthy Weight Loss Pack. They could just take the Healthy Start Pack, the basic program, according to their body weight. If they weigh 300 pounds, they need 3 of those. It's 1 per 100 pounds of body weight. And get off all the bad foods. And they'll slowly lose weight. They'll lose a ½ pound a day. But then we throw in what we call the secret sauces to add to that and make it the Healthy Weight Loss Pack. They can lose 2 to 4 pounds a day, healthfully. They won't even need surgery to deal with all the saggy, baggy skin because the skin will tone up as they lose the weight. And we get people come from all over the world, but see, it's much more economical for everybody if everybody all over the world is doing these systems, so they don't have to come to me all the time. They can do it in their country of their origin. Our regional countries can go there instead of everybody having to come to me.
Amazing. Dr. Wallach, thank you very much. I want to thank you again, your big brother from another mother. And listen, this is the only moment alternative medicine is the best for your family. This is the man who really, really, I admire him the most. And I'm here to take the message all over, around the world. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
See you to the top, Dr. Wallach.
Yes, thank you so much.
Asante sana.
Hambagashe.
Hambagashe.